Hey there, everybody. Welcome to Fresh Out the Podcast, the number one podcast in the universe. I am the board game guru and game master extraordinaire, Jahananan.
And I am the professional media and movie mastermind, the Funhouse Drew Munhausen, and welcome to episode 137 of Fresh Out the Podcast. We had a couple weeks off there. I went to a film festival for a week, and so that was very time consuming. And so Jahan was, patient while I did that and absorbed way too many movies, a thing that I love to do. And so I appreciate you doing that, Jahan, and I'm happy to be here with you to catch up and talk about all kinds of fun stuff.
Yeah, man. I love that you get to go live your red carpet life. That's really cool to me. I like to hear all about it. So it's a good thing.
Yeah, it was really neat. I'll go into that in a minute because I got to see a lot of stuff. Some stuff that's not out yet still. So that's always really cool to be kind of ahead in some ways and have seen some of the things, especially, how I like to talk about all the awards stuff and, what's getting Oscar buzz and so on. And I saw some of those movies that are kind of in the discussion. So that'll be fun to talk about. But first, on our last episode, one of the main topics was we talked about the PS5 Pro and
oh boy.
the unveiling of that and the mega price tag that was stamped on there, the $699 price tag for the console that doesn't come with a stand or a disk drive. Both of those are excess costs if you want those things. A lot of people on, Reddit and social media really complaining about how can you call this the definitive version of the console, yet it doesn't even have the disk drive that you're removing that, which I get it. I personally have moved to a more digital game collection, so that doesn't bother me. But there's a lot of people that I think still are buying physical discs, even if I'm not.
Yeah, I mean, I also transitioned to digital. My Xbox, I have the Series S, no disk drive, and my PC also does not have a disk drive. So I'm living online. I understand people's reservations, especially when companies say things like, if you own it digitally, you don't really own the game. You know what I mean? And we've heard that talk from them, and it's upsetting. But I guess I don't know. I don't have much choice in the matter when it comes to this, and so I'm just gonna deal with it as it comes. Hopefully, they'll be kind.
Apparently there's actual legal talk about digital ownership and how you can call that, whether you can actually call it purchasing or, because you're not actually purchasing the game or the movie, you're purchasing the license to be able to play it. And they could technically take the game off and you bought the license, but the game's not available, things like that. So I guess the terminology around digital ownership is changing as we move into that world, which I get it. I guess I buy things digitally with the understanding that something could happen to this, if there's a licensing issue or something, it might disappear for a little bit and then reappear at a later time. I don't know. But just, with the cascade of news that has followed, gaming news after the PS5 Pro, I feel like PlayStation, they're in a very dominant place in the gaming landscape, right? We know that. We know the PlayStation 5 is outselling the Xbox Series consoles by a whole lot. And that's why Xbox is, there's a reason why they're pivoting to being more of a publisher and working, putting their games on other platforms. They're making money. They're taking a different stance. So PlayStation's in a position of dominance. And as such, it seems like they can kind of just announce whatever they want to, regardless of if it's good or bad. That being said, I feel like ever since the PS5 Pro announcement that got some heat. Now, granted, the pre-orders for that have gone live. A lot of people have probably pre-ordered them. They also just announced their whole line of, I believe it's 30th anniversary consoles and controllers and things. I don't know if you looked at those, Jahan. They have really cool skins of the PS5 Pro and just the regular PS5, as well as the different controllers, and also the thing I have that I can't even think of what it's called now. The handheld one. They have really cool, they look like PS1 skins on them, and it's the special anniversary collection. I think all that is super slick. That
I
stuff
did
probably
see
sold out
it,
instantly.
and I do have that nostalgia bug too. And like, I see things for the Switch that look like Super Nintendo colors, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. And you
Right.
know, but yeah, they're just preying on that nostalgia bug to make a profit. And I don't know, man. Like, I can't buy another console just because it looks cool. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm with you. People do collect consoles in that way. More power to you. They also on the PS5 they did a new update, and there's good and bad with this, right? There's the good. I'll start with. They have changed the main home screen of the PlayStation 5 that you can customize it with widgets. And like you can change how big they are, how small they are, prioritize certain ones over others. Like you can have a widget for the store, the PlayStation Store if you want it, or you can not. If you don't want the store ads, you can just have it be your trophies, your controller battery life, you recently played, what friends are online, your chats, things like that. And that's actually really cool. But right after that update, another update has made it so that when you're the one that actually sent me this, when you look at certain game tiles, whereas it used to show the key art for the game, now it's showing advertisements on that. And so a lot of gamers, PlayStation gamers, are really pushing back against that and the just blatant advertising. And a lot of it's like not even relevant, right? Like if you're playing Spider-Man 2, it'll advertise old Spider-Man movies that have been out for a long time. Like it's not even the new stuff that it's pushing out, which is interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's frightening. They're pushing ads. They've been doing it with Fire Sticks and all that stuff. There's advertisements right there on your home screen on something that you own. And it's upsetting. I didn't expect to see it on consoles, and it just makes me enjoy the fact that I game on a PC a lot. Because it's much harder for them to do that here. Like, obviously, when I go on the internet, ads galore. But, so far, when I'm playing video games on my PC, they're not messing with me.
I'm kind of used to it as an Xbox gamer. Like, for better or for worse, Xbox has had ads on their home screen for like the better part of a decade now. I think going back to the Xbox One era. So I'm just kind of used to the ads on the screen there. But these are pretty egregious, especially for a UI that can look really slick otherwise. Speaking of games, Tokyo Game Show was just taking place. And a cool part of that I just wanted to highlight because this really appeals to me is that they did announce a lot of Square Enix titles coming to Xbox. That's been something that they've been really pushing is to have more of those like kind of Japanese based RPGs and things on the Xbox console. And so they actually dropped a few of them on Game Pass day of like Legends of Mana and Trials of Mana and the new Katamari game and so on. But then they also dropped like the Final Fantasy Pixel collection on there. So like Final Fantasy 1 through 6, you can buy the collection now on Xbox that previously wasn't available. It was only on I think PlayStation and Switch. So yeah, you can actually buy those games individually, Final Fantasy 1 or 2, or you can buy the collection, all of them together. So that's pretty neat to have on Xbox, and they're pushing it sounds like to get Final Fantasy 16, the newest numbered Final Fantasy entry that's not the 7 remakes. They're pushing to get that one on Xbox, and it sounds like Square Enix wants to. Maybe they're still under contract or whatever exclusivity deal they had on PlayStation, but it sounds like that's going to happen at some point. So that's good for everybody, I feel like, to have those games more widely available.
As someone who's not a big Final Fantasy guy, I think it's pretty cool. I was excited to see the Mana games come to the Xbox. And I am a fan of the original, like, Super Nintendo Final Fantasy games. So that'll be fun. 2 and 3 are awesome.
Yeah. So that's some pretty cool game stuff. They announced some new games for Game Pass just today as well, like MLB The Show is coming out tomorrow. So that's a pretty big get for the newest MLB game. But yeah, just some good stuff all around. Plenty of games to play, but we'll talk about more in our fresh games because there's a big new Switch release too that we'll talk about. And I'll give you a hint. It rhymes with Belda.
Ooh.
So.
Ooh. Melda.
But now I'm gonna take the
No, okay.
time to stand on my little soapbox and talk about Fantastic Fest, John.
Take it away, man. I've been dying to hear about it. I've been seeing your tweets, and I'm really wondering what movies I need to watch.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest Twitter or X user unless I'm seeing, advanced screenings of movies, because I feel like that's the only time I get that much engagement. I feel like a lot of times on Twitter you're just sending stuff out to the ether, but if you are seeing movies in advance and tweet certain things, you get engagement. So like I tweet like a critic when I'm there, for better or for worse. Um, but yeah, so this was my third Fantastic Fest. I saw in the ballpark of like 24 or 25 movies while I was there, which
Wow.
is, yeah, I'm an insane person. I had seen 12 movies in the first 3 days of me being there. And then after that, I kind of stagger them a little bit more. Because even five movies in a day is a lot. Like, basically, you could go to that festival and go to five movies every day and see almost 40 movies. I just can't do it. I can't do the late screenings, the midnight showings. Like, I'm old and tired. I have to retire at that point. And
Dude,
sometimes there's just a
24,
window.
man. That's impressive.
Yeah. I think so. So I'm not gonna go. I don't want to go through every single movie that I saw because that would be an extremely long podcast. But I do want to go through some highlights of things that I saw or people who were there, because that was another cool thing about the festival this year is their celebrity presence and who they had promoting movies there. I thought was much more impressive than what they typically or what they've had in the past. Like they've always had celebrities there, directors, so on, but a lot more talent was there. I think as we get further away from COVID and the pandemic and in a better place, it's a little bit easier for them to make appearances. That was definitely the problem when I was there 2 years ago. And last year when I was there is when the strikes were just starting. So this year was a little bit more normal, I'd say.
Hell yeah.
Sorry, had a distraction. Anyways, I saw the first night they had three big premieres. The first one was a movie called The Rule of Ginny Penn. This is going to be a Shudder movie, but it had Jeffrey Rush and John Lithgow in it, and it's literally like a prank fest between people at an old folks' home. But it's just worth noting because Jeffrey Rush was there in person to promote it. Barbossa himself from the Pirates movies, so that was kind of neat.
That is cool.
Then they had the new horror movie with Halle Berry called Never Let Go. And she was actually there promoting it. And she did go to all the theaters and say hi to the crowd. So that was pretty neat. Typically, the way that it works at Fantastic Fest, for those who don't know, is they simulcast what they'll do is the festival takes over the entire Alamo Drafthouse South Lamar in Austin. And so they have 10 screens there. And so some movies are playing on multiple screens at a given time frame. So like if Halle Berry's there doing a Q&A, she'll be in theater 5, but it's live streamed to the other theaters that are showing that movie. So like sometimes the celebrity's there, but you might not be in the theater where they are, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Even though they're literally in the room next door. But Halle Berry did go around to all the theaters and said hi, so that was neat. And then I did see Terrifier 3 the first night, which is big in the realm of horror right now. The Terrifier movies are famous for how gory and insane they are. Like, usually the talks are about all the walkouts. And these are true independent movies. Like, I think Terrifier 2 was made for, like, $100,000 or something and ended up making $10 million, which is, like, incredible rate of return.
That's like
for an independent
Paranormal
horror
Activity
movie.
level, man.
Right. So they had Terrifier 3 there. It's bigger, it's gorier. It barely makes a lick of sense. They've gotten really plotty with them, but it doesn't matter. I like watching Art the Clown kill people in extremely gruesome ways with basically no restrictions on that. Truly.
Yeah, I've seen like bits and pieces. Is he like, does he have supernatural powers? Because I see him kind of disappear and reappear and
Yes,
yeah, okay.
he clearly, the first movie is much more of a traditional horror movie, and it's short. It's like barely 70 something minutes long. Like it's pretty short and introduces Art the Clown, and and the serial killer that he is. But no, he for sure has supernatural elements to him because he's literally been decapitated and come back. So,
Okay.
Yeah. Uh, but that was fun to watch. That was a midnight screening I went to, and fun to watch with a full theater and crowd that were all behind the extreme gore and cheering it on and that kind of thing. So, Terrifier 3, a gory good time, even if it's from a plot standpoint barely cohesive at all. Chris Jericho, the wrestler in that movie, and he was there as part of the Q&A. I enjoyed that as a wrestling fan.
He was in Terrifier 3?
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Did he break the walls
Yes.
down?
He I don't know if I'd say he broke the walls down, but I'll just say he dies an extremely wonderful death
Excellent.
in the film. um, let's see. Okay, I'll start drilling through some of these. Apartment 7A. It's a Rosemary's Baby prequel that's on Paramount Plus now. When I first went into this, I was like, another horror prequel going straight to a streaming service. Paramount Plus had a Pet Cemetery prequel last year that was not good. So I had low expectations for this. Thought it was actually pretty good. If you've seen Ozark and you like Julia Garner, who's in that show, she's really good as the lead in Apartment 7A. I'd actually recommend it. And then I saw Anora, and this is one that I want to focus on a little bit more because this is going to be a big awards contender this year. It'll be a big Best Picture contender and a big Best Actress contender. So this is the new film from Sean Baker, and he's the director that did a movie called The Florida Project a few years ago, which Willem Dafoe was nominated for awards for that. And then a couple of years ago, he did a movie called Red Rocket that had Simon Rex in it, and I loved Red Rocket. I'm a really big fan of Sean Baker. Another great movie called Tangerine he did, all good stuff. And he has a knack for casting non-actors in roles in movies that make the movies feel like a lot more gritty and realistic. And Anora is the story of Honora is the name of the main character, and she is a stripper, and she gets looped in. There's like a young Russian man who comes into her strip club, and he's like the son of a Russian oligarch, and she strikes up a relationship with him and kind of like begins working with him as an escort, and then eventually they end up on the fly getting married, and then that leads to an entire sequence of events involving his family, and it's very like anxiety inducing in a good way. And this movie is fantastic. It's probably the best movie I saw at the festival. It's going to be a big one at the award season, so keep an eye out for Anora. I feel like only the cinephiles have really been keeping tabs on this one for now, but it'll probably start getting a little bit more mainstream traction as we really get into award season.
Okay, cool.
And then the first secret screening they showed Saturday Night, which is the new Jason Reitman film about the taping of the first ever episode of Saturday Night Live. And that
I've
comes
seen
out
clips for this. It looks really cool.
It was really good. I had a great time with this, and it's all takes place. It's basically like in real time. It's the hour and a half leading up to the taping of SNL and all the drama and hijinks that kind of went on as they were trying to put on their first ever live show. And you've got, oh gosh, I believe his name's Gabriel LaBelle, is the young actor. He was in The Fabelmans, and he played the young Steven Spielberg in that movie. And he actually plays young Lorne Michaels in this movie and does a really great job. But the actor who plays Chevy Chase is doing like a pretty good Chevy. Dylan O'Brien is a young Dan Aykroyd. You know, you've got all the cast members of SNL here, and they're all doing a pretty good job without doing like crazy impressions. And the cast is huge. A lot of young up and coming actors and actresses that to keep an eye out for. And this one lived up to the hype. I thought it was really good. And this one's also probably going to be in the awards race this year. So I recommend Saturday Night when it comes out. It's a pretty fun watch, and it's pretty breezy too.
Yeah, me and my family have watched Saturday Night Live like my whole life, so it's one that was on my radar.
Yeah, I think that it's definitely a good family movie. Like you could go see it with family, or when it comes out, rent it with family.
Hell yeah.
It's good. I also got to see this could almost go in fresh movies because it's a brand new release. It just released in theaters this weekend. I saw The Wild Robot, which
Ooh.
is the new DreamWorks animated movie about a robot voiced by Lupita Nyong'o, uh, who gets like basically there's a shipping accident and the robot ends up on this island full of wildlife, and it's all about how the robot adapts to that. And this is probably the best animated movie of the year that I've seen so far.
Ooh, high
I thought it was
praise.
really
Okay.
touching, made me tear up. I thought the animation was beautiful, really, really good. And it surprised me because I just feel like I didn't have, maybe it's because I didn't have much expectations going into it, but I thought it was a really strong animated entry for this year.
I'll
That's The
have to
Wild
check that
Robot.
one out. Yeah, I've been hearing good things about it. Before I heard anything though, I wasn't too excited about it. I didn't think it was going to be any good, but I'm hearing good
The
things.
trailer doesn't do it justice. I feel like the trailer is like, it's a robot on an island and learning about the island and dealing with nature is kind of how it comes off. It's like, okay, that's fine, but it doesn't scream, you know, action packed or anything. But it's a very heartwarming animated film. I really liked it.
I guess Lupita Nyong'o is just a sure bet these days.
Yeah, I mean, really seems so. I also have you watched Will and Harper yet, Jahan?
Mm-mm.
No, do you know what that is?
No, what's that?
Really, really great movie. It's now on
Will and
Netflix.
Harper.
And this is a documentary with Will Ferrell and his friend Harper Steele. And Harper Steele is a trans woman who previously had worked as a head writer on SNL. So their friendship dated back, almost 30 years before Harper had transitioned. And so Harper, I believe, like during the pandemic, decided to actually transition and reached out to Will because she and Will Ferrell had always been good friends, and basically to inform him of her life and what was happening. And they decided to go on a road trip together and cross the country because that was something that Harper had always liked doing in her before life and wanted to experience it now as her true self. And so it's a really, really heartwarming, great exploration of friendship between Will Ferrell and Harper Steele. And of course, when they enter Texas is when they have one of their bad experiences on the trip,
Yeah.
which, of course, go figure.
Sorry.
But this
Sorry,
is a
guys.
tearjerker. I know, right? It's a tearjerker. It's a great story. You can watch this with your family. Highly recommend Will and Harper. I saw this at the festival and I actually came home, and now that it's on Netflix, I watched it again with my wife, and she really enjoyed it as well. So I can't recommend Will and Harper enough. I thought it was really great, and it's on Netflix. It's in the top 10 now. You can't miss it.
No, that's wonderful. No, I'm glad. That's a good thing for Will Ferrell to do, to help, shed light on that. I have a lot of trans friends and even some family, and it's a shame that they had that experience in Texas. But I mean, if you're not in the major cities, it's just not great out there. And even if you
There's
are,
there's a moment too, like they stop at this bar, like a Route 66 bar in the middle of nowhere, Oklahoma, and like you think it's gonna go really badly, and then it doesn't. So there's some things there, but I just think it's a really good movie too if you have questions about trans people, or maybe like you don't have an understanding, because the way it showcases their friendship is like Will is allowed to ask her all the questions that you shouldn't ask a trans person, because they are friends.
yeah.
And so it's very educational in that way too. And I think it's kind of an important watch in that way. But I just highly recommend it because on top of it all, it's just emotional and heartwarming, and their friendships on display in a really great way.
That makes me very happy. Yeah, good pick.
Yeah, and then Sebastian Stan, the Winter Soldier himself, was there to promote his new movie called A Different Man. And this is an A24 release, and I thought it was really good. It's kind of a dark comedy, but I don't know if you've seen trailers for this. Basically, he has what the condition, I don't know the proper name of the condition, but his Sebastian Stan's character in the movie has the condition where his face is covered in like big tumors, and it's kind of like Elephant Man-esque, where he's very
Yeah.
deformed. And so it's Sebastian Stan under prosthetics at that point in the movie. But he finds this new experimental treatment and goes through with it that basically makes him, it heals him, like it cures him, and he has a normal face. And it's all about how he adjusts to life after that. But it's one of those movies that's frustrating by design, because all I'll say is that he doesn't do or act the way you would think he would after going through that. And so, you know, the classic thing in a movie where you're like, well, if I were in the movie, this is what I would do. Or why didn't he do this? It's that. So you're kind of frustrated, but it made me feel things, and I thought it was very enjoyable. There's an actor named Adam Pearson in the movie who he actually has the condition that Sebastian Stan's character had in the movie. And so Sebastian Stan's character ends up with a normal face. Then he meets this man that has the condition he had, but this man is very like outgoing and charming and living life to the fullest, and it's like everything he wished he could have been, and it's like him struggling, Sebastian Stan's character struggling with his identity. So it's really good. I really enjoyed it.
That's pretty deep, man. I liked it.
Yeah.
I've seen pictures, or I've seen video of them together, and I was wondering what that was about, and I was like, oh, okay.
They were both there at the festival too, so that was really cool. But then after that, I saw another secret screening, and Sebastian Stan came out to promote that as well, and I was like, oh no, because I knew exactly what this was going to be as soon as he came out. And I don't know if you've heard about this, but Sebastian Stan has another movie that just got distribution called The Apprentice, where he plays a young Donald Trump.
Oh, God.
Yeah. There were a lot of walkouts in my theater when this was announced as a secret screening. Granted, this movie does not paint Trump in a positive light at all. Like, let's be clear.
If it's honest, how could it?
Exactly. And so it's all about a young Trump who's kind of trying to like make his mark as a businessman, and he comes under the wing of Roy Cohn, who's like a really, notoriously dirty practices as a lawyer. And he's played by Jeremy Strong in the movie, who plays Kendall Roy in Succession. I feel like that's like kind of been his key role. But Jeremy Strong's really, really great in this as Roy Cohn, and Sebastian Stan as Trump is pretty good as well. And it's here's the thing about a lot of people were like, why would you show this at Fantastic Fest? This isn't a Fantastic Fest movie, because Fantastic Fest is a genre festival typically. This is a monster movie. This is like a Frankenstein monster movie with Roy Cohn as Dr. Frankenstein and Trump is Frankenstein's monster. Like, this was a perfect movie to show at Fantastic Fest.
Fire's bad, okay?
Well, and Sebastian Stan is not even doing a Trump impression. Like, he's really kind of, at first, you're like, oh, this is interesting because he's not doing it. But then, as the movie goes on and he starts becoming more and more of the Trump we know, it's not even like the voice cadence, it's just the way he talks and the way he says things. He becomes way more Trumpish as the movie goes on. But yeah, this is absolutely a monster movie at its heart. And I thought it was actually pretty good, considering. So
that's funny.
You got to just know what it is going into it, the subject matter. It's obviously not out to portray Trump in any kind of good or sympathetic light. But it is, it's a monster movie.
It's not The Sound of Freedom. I got you.
I promise I'm wrapping this up here soon.
I'm enjoying this, man. Take your time.
Big stuff. The third secret screening was actually the movie Heretic, the new Hugh Grant horror movie coming out from A24 here soon. I don't know if you've seen the trailers for this. It's about two young Mormon girls, like on their mission, and they're meeting with certain people. I think they're in Boulder, Colorado in the movie. They're, going door to door for people that have potentially expressed interest in the Church of Latter-day Saints. And they show up at Hugh Grant's character's house, and he's this very charming man and invites them inside. And then you quickly learn that his intentions are not good. And he's like a theologist and studies religions and different things and really starts to put their faith to the test and put them through it. And this movie is really good. Hugh Grant's really good in it, and this comes out pretty soon. I think within the next month or so. I feel like this is kind of the talk to me of this year. That was A24's, I feel like, big horror movie last year. And this is another good Halloween, October, November horror movie that'll come out from A24. And it's Hugh Grant. I've talked about this before on our show, but Hugh Grant, anytime he's in that weird character actor era of his career as he's getting older, where he's not afraid to be the rogue villain in the Dungeons and Dragons movie. And he's not afraid to be, like these kind of silly, and Oompa Loompa, right? In Wonka.
Right.
And now he's kind of this villain in this horror movie, so it's kind of great to see, and Heretic's really good, so I recommend that. And then I saw some other things. I saw actually the last night we were there, the last secret screening was actually not a movie, it was a TV show, and Mark Duplass was there to promote it. Who he's in the morning show currently, but he was on like The League, which was a show that was really popular with me and my friends, in all about fantasy football. But you've probably seen him around and in stuff.
Which character
like
is
in
he
Zero
in the
Dark
League?
30? He's the main character. In the
Oh,
League.
he's the main guy. Yeah,
yeah. I can't remember his character's name, but
I know who you're talking about.
He does a lot of acting and also producing these days. And he's in a horror movie that came out, an independent horror movie that came out a few years ago called Creep. And it's like a found footage horror movie, and he's one of the leads in it. And now he has a new TV show that he's produced that'll be coming out on Shudder in November, and it's called The Creep Tapes. And he was there and showed the first 3 episodes of The Creep Tapes.
Wait, are you talking about the guy that's married, or the one that did the "Show Me Your Genitals" song?
The one who's married.
Okay. I started thinking that you were talking about the other one. I was like, wait a second. Okay.
No, I know the guy. What was that guy's name? He was like the YouTuber that was on the show,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. So I'm looking at Mark Duplass to see if there's anything else you would know him from. He doesn't do as he does a lot. He's just one of those actors who he's done a lot of acting, but he's doing a lot of producing. He does a lot of supporting roles, like in Bombshell and Tully, and of course he did Creep. I'm looking a lot of smaller stuff. Zero Dark 30. Anyways, I really like Mark Duplass when he shows up and stuff. And the Creep Tapes was actually really strong. They're 20-minute episodes, found footage style, just like the original Creep movie. But he's just this kind of like creepy guy who ends up murdering people, but in like strange ways.
I see who it is. Yeah, he was in The Lazarus Effect. That movie was pretty creepy.
Yeah, I like him a lot, and he was there to promote it. So that was kind of a fun way to end the fest. I had an overall really great time. Saw a lot of good stuff. And I have to give props and shout outs to Bonds PR. They're the folks that put on the festival. They represent Alamo Drafthouse, and they did a lot of work, and I feel like the programming was really good. I talked about Will and Harper earlier. Like, Will Ferrell and Harper Steele were there. Like, they were there, and they did a live Q&A after the movie. So, like, it was really cool to see some of these people show up and be there at this cool, weird genre festival in Austin, Texas. So I feel like it's getting a little bit more mainstream attention in between all the like Toronto International Film Festival and Telluride and the famous ones that are really doing the prestige-y stuff. There's this cool, weird genre festival in Austin, with a bunch of weirdos and cool foreign horror movies and but some mainstream stuff too. And man, I've had a great time there the past 3 years, and looking forward to going to more in the future.
Man, I'm excited for you to go to more. This is a really cool thing that you get to do, and I'm glad you had a good time, man. I always like hearing about these. Looking forward to watching a few of these for October.
Yeah, absolutely. If I have to choose, well, I went through everything, but if I have to highlight a few again, Anora, Saturday Night, The Wild Robot, Will and Harper, A Different Man, Heretic, all really good stuff that I really recommend when those come out.
Hell yes. Well, I think that's going to carry us right into fresh movies. So, once again, take it away, Drew.
Well, and I know I just spent forever talking about movies, so I'll go through these fast. But like the crazy person I am, I got back from the festival and then the next day went back to the movie theater because I wanted to see Transformers 1, the new animated Transformers movie. And I'm not the biggest Transformers fan ever by any means. Like, I've said this a million times. I had older sisters, did not grow up watching Transformers stuff from the 80s because of that. So my real exposure to Transformers was Beast Wars first.
Oh, boy.
And then, again, not really anything until the 2007 Michael Bay first Transformers movie. I've seen all those live action movies once, at least. They all kind of blend together for me, and we know the reputation of those. They're extremely varying degrees of quality, I'd say. Transformers 1, though. I went in with no expectations. Thought it was really good. Like, really solid animated Transformers prequel. It's got Chris Hemsworth is Orion Rex, I think is his name, something like that. But basically, he's spoiler. He becomes Optimus Prime. Yeah. And Brian Tyree Henry, Keegan-Michael Key, Scarlett Johansson are all in this, and I have to always get over with Transformers all the just stupid lingo of like Cybertron and Energon and blah blah blah, like our Transformer cores and so on. Like, it's all so dumb, but like when you get past that, pretty good movie. I think it's interesting that you are getting these franchises that started off animated, right? I'm looking at Transformers and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles as I talk about this, right? Started off in animated form. Got live action treatments of varying degrees. I know people are really nostalgic for the 90s
Ninja
Turtles movies, the
yes.
live action ones.
Second
the
one's
Michael
my
Bay produced
favorite.
ones. The second one, yeah, I feel like that's the one that resonates
Secret of
most
the Ooze.
with us. But then they did the ones in like 2014 that were not good. The live action, or the first one's not good. The second one that has Bebop and Rocksteady in it is okay at times, but again, varying degrees of quality for the live action Turtles movies. And then now these franchises that have tried to do live action are going back to doing animated entries with Mutant Mayhem for Turtles and now Transformers 1. And these are some of the best entries that we've had in these franchises, in my opinion. So it's like, yeah, maybe stick with the original, how these started out. Well, I mean, I take it back. I know Turtles was a comic book. Did it have an animated series before or after the live action movies?
Before.
Like, I don't know.
Long before.
Okay, that's what I thought. I was just making sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly how it started. It might have started as an animated show, but it also might have started as action figures because either
it was a comic book first.
It may be.
I'm pretty sure.
Maybe it was a comic book first. I'm not entirely sure. All I know is that it is a parody of Daredevil, and that's
exactly.
kind of how it started. But yeah, it's I was big on
Hand and the Foot Clan.
The Foot Clan, yeah.
Splinter and what's the one Daredevil?
Stick.
Stick, yeah. All that. I loved all that. But Transformers 1's pretty good. Like, if you're just so out on the Bay Transformers movies at this point and what they were doing there in live action, give Transformers 1 a shot. It might give it's a much needed shot in the arm for these franchises that were just going and diminishing returns.
Yeah, man, as a big nerd and a hyper fixator and, a writer and storyteller at times, I really appreciate good lore and believable lore. Even when you're dealing with transforming robots, if you yourself respect the lore, you know what I mean? Like, it shows in the final product. And I feel like this movie is true to itself because the writers believed the lore that they had to work with. So that's my opinion.
Yeah. So that's Transformers 1, and then actually just last night I got to go to an advanced screening of a movie called We Live in Time. It stars Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh, and it's basically this married couple, I should say this couple, that goes through like highs and lows, basically. And the movie is one of those that's kind of told out of order. So it jumps around in time to like when they first met, when they find out they're pregnant with their daughter, and in the future when this it's in the trailer, so I can say this, where Florence Pugh's character has a cancer diagnosis. So it's like it jumps around in time, and it's pretty solid. It has really great performances from Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh to be expected. I think they're both really great. But overall I found it to be like kind of predictable in what it was doing, but it still worked from an emotional standpoint. So it's pretty good. That comes out in theaters in a couple weeks. That's an A24 release, and it's called We Live in Time, and I enjoyed it.
Hell yeah, man. No, that one sounds good. It looks good too. I've seen some previews for it. I love Florence Pugh. Yeah, those like movies that show like a whole relationship beginning to end. Those are always like bittersweet, but they're always, I don't know, they strike a chord. So I'd be interested in seeing this.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's pretty good.
Excellent. Well, that takes us to Fresh TV of the week. And I actually watched some of this stuff, most of it actually. I'm going to jump in real quick with an anime suggestion here. I've had Solo Leveling on my radar for a while. It is pretty big in the anime community. A lot of fans of it. I haven't been able to stop watching it. I'm kind of hooked. It's really, really good. And so essentially what it is it's the real world, right? Modern day. Mm-hmm. And these portals start opening up to a world of fantasy, magic, and monsters, right? And the monsters start invading Earth, and, you know, they're killing people, and our weapons don't do anything to them. They can't really be harmed by what we have. But there's an awakening among the population of people who are called hunters, and they gain sort of like fantasy video game powers. But once you get your powers, you can never get any stronger. So like your powers awaken, and that's it. That's as strong as you'll ever be. And they fight these monsters. It takes place after the portals have been opening for a while, and the world's sort of established now. They have rules. They have guilds of people that like raid these portals and close them before the monsters can escape. And it becomes very capitalistic and very like controlled. The main character, obviously, he's special. Some things happen, and he's able to actually level up. And no one else can. And there's something going on behind the scenes of that seems actually like super sinister. This seems like your typical sort of like isekai, like fun power feeling kind of stuff, but it has echoes of like Gantz for me, which is a really like dark anime about like human nature. And it also has a little bit of that Sword Art Online feel about, you know, morality. And I don't know. It's a really good anime, and I think it's going to get much worse before it gets better emotionally. I think it's going to get pretty dark here. So, yeah, Solo Leveling, if you want a good, gory anime with a lot of mystery, this is a solid one that I can recommend to you. I watch it on Crunchyroll. I don't know where else it's available. After that, you like reality TV, Drew. I've been watching the latest season of The Circle. I believe the finale premieres this week. So I'm all caught up with this season. This is a reality show I can get behind. If you're not familiar with the concept, you know, all these people are in separate apartments in this big apartment building. They can never talk to each other or see each other except through The Circle, which is essentially a custom social media where they can communicate with each other through text only. They can't, you know, they have profile pictures and stuff. Some people are being honest about who they are. Some people are catfishing people. And you're trying to build alliances and vote each other to like gain influence, become an influencer, and get to decide who stays, who goes home. Winner gets $100,000. So it's pretty big stakes. And I don't know, it's a very interesting show. The way people figure things out is interesting to watch, and the way people play is always fascinating. That's The Circle. It's on Netflix. I suggest you check it out. There's lots of seasons, and there's also like The Circle Europe and The Circle, you know, all those good shows. So But then the biggest thing I watched, the most relevant pop culture phenomena thing going on, I watched Agatha All Along on Disney Plus. I believe there's currently 3 episodes streaming, and I don't know if you got a chance to watch this, Drew.
I have not. This has been the big thing. Being at the festival put me way behind on TV, especially literally the week the festival started was the week Agatha All Along and The Penguin dropped. So I have not been able to watch either of these yet.
I managed to watch Agatha, watch the first 3. After I watched the first one, I'm going to just straight up say, so you can kind of get a feel of how I feel about it, I wanted to watch the rest of them.
Good. Okay.
All right. It starts off pretty good. It starts off kind of weird. You don't know what's going on. Agatha is doing like this homicide detective thing, and you're like, you don't really understand what's going on. Things are explained. Things eventually make sense. But essentially, she develops this coven, and they're going to go walk what's known as the Witch's Road, which is a mystical path that you can travel with your coven of witches to gain power that you've always wanted to. It's very interesting. There's a little bit of, there's not a lot. It's not like a musical, but there is some singing. The characters are really great. There's several different witch characters, one of which is Aubrey Plaza. Another one is a woman from SNL is on here. I forget what her name is.
Catherine Hahn, the lead? Or
no,
somebody else?
Somebody else.
Okay.
Let me see. Agatha All Along. It is Sashir Zamata.
Okay.
Yeah, she's in this. She's very good in this. And then you got Deborah Jo Rupp makes an appearance in this from that '70s show. She was also in WandaVision. So there's some.
I was gonna say she was in WandaVision. Yeah.
Yeah, there's some of this WandaVision stuff is still a part of this show, and they utilize it very well, and I enjoy it. But long story short, there's a secret going on with this mysterious young man that comes to help Agatha out. And there's just a lot of intrigue. There's people after Agatha for obvious reasons. You know, she's made a lot of enemies. I thought there's a lot of really cool stuff that happened here. The trials are very visually and emotionally interesting. I like it. I think that this is actually... I didn't have high hopes for this. It seems kind of like a weird idea on paper. But so did WandaVision. This is one of the better Marvel shows that's come out lately. I find it very enjoyable, and I hope to see it to the end, and just in time for October. So
that's really promising. Like, I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to checking it out.
I thought it was gonna suck, and I was gonna turn it off immediately. I watched all 3 episodes. Can't wait for the 4th.
It just felt like not to talk too much shit about the premise, because I know Catherine Hahn was like a big standout of WandaVision, and everybody loved her and liked Agatha Harkness and the use of that character in it. But then when they were doing just that unloading of all the Disney Plus Marvel shows they were doing, and you were doing an Agatha spinoff, that kind of seemed like, okay, y'all have like taken this too far, right? Like, we don't have to have a show for everything.
Yeah.
That being said, I'm glad that this one seems to be good, because I feel like Echo really came and went and nobody really talked about it, and so, but Agatha I feel like is getting some good buzz.
Yeah. No, I definitely enjoyed it. Definitely recommend checking it out. It's more or less family friendly.
Okay.
Am I right about that? No, there's a lot of blood. Maybe don't watch with young kids, but it's very good.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll be catching up on that and The Penguin hopefully in the next week. Those are the ones that I really want to watch.
I'll try to make sure to watch The Penguin so we can talk about it.
Yeah, I have watched Survivor from a reality TV show standpoint, but that's just a constant in my life, so I never add it here when there's new seasons. But I will say, when I was at the festival, sometimes I did have a little bit of downtime between movies where I could watch something on my computer, but I didn't want to watch like The Penguin or Agatha in that setting. Like, I wanted to actually sit down and watch those proper. But there's a podcast I listen to called Blank Check, and they're doing a big David Lynch deep dive right now, and there's a lot of David Lynch stuff I haven't seen, and part of that is Twin Peaks. And so I was like, you know what? I'll watch Twin Peaks a little bit in between movies here and there. And so I actually made it through the whole first season of Twin Peaks, which is only 8 episodes, so it's nothing crazy. Have you ever watched Twin Peaks, Jahan?
I
Like, are you a Twin
know
Peaks guy?
of it. I've seen a little bit of it. My younger brother's obsessed with David Lynch. I was actually talking about David Lynch with Kyle the other day, funny enough. But no, I have not seen Twin Peaks. Do I need to?
I mean, no. At this point, no, maybe not. I don't know. There are people that are like diehard Twin Peaks fans and love diving into all the lore of, this town and what's going on. It draws you in because it opens with the murder of this girl, and it's kind of all about like the mystery of that. That's how they draw you in. But really, that's just an excuse to explore all the strange people that live in this town and so on and so forth. And it's just, there's strange happenings, strange people. Like everybody's having affairs, everybody's going behind each other's backs. It's like that kind of thing. And as it goes on, you almost start to care less about the central murder, and, that brought you in the first place, and more just these characters. Now, granted, I'm starting season 2, and season 2 notoriously, I guess, like from what I've gathered, the first season's 8 episodes, the second season had 22 episodes. Ooh. So it did like the full season order, and they quickly lost the thread. Like Lynch was not writing every episode as he was before, and it goes into more like meandering subplots with characters that aren't really central to the plot, and like I guess the show really kind of drops the ball midway through. Like there's a big fall off, I guess, midway through the second season. A lot of people watch to a certain point and don't make it through. I'm gonna try and see how far I get, but
aren't they coming out with a third kind of season soon?
What was that?
Aren't they coming out with another season?
So they did come out with one. So they did Twin Peaks season 1 and 2. Then it got canceled. And then Lynch made a movie that's like a prequel called Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me that I think didn't do well at the time, but people have really reclaimed it, and it's on Criterion and stuff now. But then he came back and did Twin Peaks The Return, a third season back in 2017 that people... the hardcore fans are like, it's a masterpiece. So I'm excited. That's why I want to push through season 2, is to see season 3 and what all weirdness they did there, because it has been kind of universally praised. And Lynch directed every episode of that one. So
yeah,
I'm trying to make my way through it, but that's just been kind of a fun little sub journey that I'm on now with TV. I also wanted to mention, not to go back to Fantastic Fest already so quickly, but just that this is relevant to our audience. At Fantastic Fest, they showed one of their screenings was either the first 2 or 3 episodes of season 3 of The Legend of Vox Machina.
Ooh.
Which I know you're a fan of, John.
I'm a big fan.
I did not go to the screening because I have not seen all of season 2. I was like, I'm not going to go see season 3 when I haven't seen season 2, that kind of thing. But I did hear positive buzz about the first few episodes that they showed at the festival. And they actually had, making sure I got this right, the people that were there. Liam O'Brien was there at Fantastic Fest. Marisha Roy, is that how you say her name? Marisha Ray.
Marisha Ray, yeah. That's Ray. Matt Mercer's wife.
Okay, and Travis Willingham was there.
Travis Willingham.
They were all there promoting it and everything, but I didn't get to see. I saw them there, but I did not get to see the show.
I would really like to
shout
meet
it out.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I just wanted to shout that out because I had heard positive buzz about it, and I know that you and Gary and others who listen to us are big fans of The Legend of Vox Machina. So
I like Critical Role, and I've listened to a bit of it. I really enjoyed Vox Machina. I have my problems with Vox Machina as a show, but for whatever reason, I find it endlessly enjoyable, and I love every second of it, despite the things I don't like. And so I'm really excited for season 3.
Nice. Well, perfect. Well, I'll toss it to you for fresh games because the biggest new gaming release you have played and I haven't. So I want you to be able to talk about that.
I'm going to talk about it a little bit. I played it for a bit and definitely got a feel for it, but I have barely tapped into this thing. Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. So this game, it's in the same style as the Link's Awakening remake for the Switch. I thought it was going to take place on the same island. It does not. This takes place in Hyrule. So it is Link's Awakening style. It is fully in Hyrule. So that was a big surprise for me. Because I really didn't look into this game at all before I played it. Went in with like fresh eyes. This game's really solid. You play Zelda, obviously. Things happen and you wind up having to save the kingdom for various reasons. And you are given a staff that you can use to clone pretty much anything. You can clone furniture, pots. You can also clone creatures, so you can summon creatures to do your bidding in this game. The puzzles, because of how you can utilize the summons, are varied, and you can accomplish them in many different ways. I found the few puzzles I made it through very enjoyable. And, like, they didn't really explain how to do any of them. They were just like, this is kind of common sense. Just, like, figure it out. And it was fun. I enjoyed it a lot. I think this is going to be a great entry into the Zelda series. And I think it's a fantastic first entry for Zelda to be a playable character. It is very fun. If you haven't played it yet, I highly recommend it. It is definitely living up to the hype for me. So yeah, Zelda Echoes of Wisdom.
This is the next game I'll be playing for sure. I had some other things that I had started and I want to get through first, and so that I can just check it off, which I'll talk about soon. But yeah, I can't wait to play this, and all that I've seen, the response to it have been really positive, and that the main thing that I was interested in is like, is this going to feel like a Legend of Zelda spin-off game or a full-on Zelda game? And it sounds like this is a true, full-blown Legend of Zelda series entry that just happens to be the first one where you play as Zelda.
It does not feel like a spin-off. It feels like a full game. It has the epicness. It has the spark of hope, of you fighting against the forces of darkness that Zelda always has. It's really cool, man. I think they pulled something off here that's very impressive. It just came out, so I haven't had a chance to play it very much. I had some stuff happen this weekend, is the whole thing. But I think it's definitely going to be worth my time to check out. So yeah, check out Zelda. I can't wait to hear what you think about it. The game that has been eating up all of my time, chewing it to the bone and ripping the flesh off my body, Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster. You know I like zombies.
I've heard that before. Yeah, I have been made aware.
I can't help it. I love anything that has zombies in it. I was a huge fan of the Dead Rising series. I played every single entry and side story and everything for Dead Rising to completion. And so when Dead Rising, the Deluxe Remaster, was dropping, I had to jump on it. It is the original game with updated graphics. But other than that, it's pretty much fully intact. It has some better controls, more intuitive controls, which I'm enjoying a lot. But if you're a classicist and you just have to play with the old controls, that's an option. Dude, I'm enjoying the crap out of my replay. I'm having a lot of fun. I'm hitting all the old stops. I'm rushing, trying to save as many of these survivors as I can while managing my time. Have you ever played Dead Rising?
I have. I played it when it came out for the Xbox 360.
Yeah.
I struggled a little bit with the time aspect of it. I think I'd probably enjoy it a lot more now. I played a lot of Dead Rising 3, which was a launch title for the Xbox One, and I loved that game. I had a great time with Dead Rising 3.
Dead Rising 1, the survivor management and time management is brutal. Dead Rising 2, they almost doubled down on it by adding the fact that you have to bring Zombrex doses to your daughter so she doesn't die. Dead Rising 3, the survivors are a little more loosey-goosey and a little more like just save when you see them kind of thing.
Yeah, I feel like 3 became more of like just a little bit more generic open world action, but still with a lot of zombies everywhere.
I loved 3. 3 was very fun.
And I didn't mean to say generic is a bad thing. Like that game's fun.
Yeah, it's a very fun game. It's got all the crafting and everything. Very fun. Dead Rising 4, You return to Willamette at the mall again, and you are once again Frank West. Also a very fun entry into the game. And
never played 4.
I beat the shit out of 4. I liked it a lot. I think it's a really good game. Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster. If you liked Dead Rising, there's no reason why you won't like this. It is a remake, so yes, it's the same game. But I haven't been able to put it down. I've been having a blast. So Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster, check it out.
Good stuff. I wanted to follow up. I talked about Astrobot. It was actually my first pick of the week on the last episode we recorded. And before I went to Fantastic Fest, I did manage to platinum Astrobot. So that's one of those games, by the way. You unlock everything. You think you've beaten the game. You're like, all I got to do is this one last thing, and I get the platinum trophy. And you realize that by unlocking everything, you unlock one additional level. And it is an extremely difficult challenge level that you unlock one more character at the end of that challenge level. It took me a long time of trying to finish it. I had to set down the controller and leave and return back to it because my blood pressure was getting too high trying to do this level. But I did finally beat it. Unlocked the platinum trophy, unlocked the final character that you get, or little astrobot character you get when you beat it, and I had a great time. And then as soon as I beat it, like not long after, they announced a few more challenge levels that are coming out, some free DLC and so on. So I'll probably return to Astrobot again in the future. But before I jump into Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, because that's the next game I want to play, I had started Star Wars Outlaws. If you remember, I talked about it a couple weeks ago, and I really wanted to give this game a little bit more time to figure out how I felt about it and whatnot. And it's a weird game, man. It's very divisive. It's gotten some okay review scores, but there's a lot of people wanting to hate on this game. At the end of the day, it's the epitome of a game that's fine. I keep finding myself playing it because it does have the Ubisoft checklist, right? Not to the degree of a Far Cry or Assassin's Creed game, but just you get a lot of pieces of intel and clues to certain things as you're going about new planets. It can lead you to find a hidden cache of, weapons, or to find a hidden door that has a chest behind it, that kind of stuff. There's just intel everywhere. I'm kind of interested to see where the story is going. That's what's keeping me playing. But the gameplay itself, it's not necessarily even fun all the time. I said this after my first few hours, and it kind of sticks. The stealth is okay. The gunplay is okay. The open world aspects are okay. And it's just a game that it feels like it does a lot of different things okay instead of doing any particular one thing great.
Master of none.
Yeah, and that's what I feel like it's missing. It looks good. For the most part, the controls and everything, it plays well. It's just it's like if you're playing a video game that's really fun, and then it gives you one random stealth mission, and you're like, man, this isn't very fun, but I got to get through it so that I can keep playing the game. But imagine if the whole game is that stealth mission.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it's like. Which sounds way worse than it actually is.
I feel you, man.
I'm gonna keep playing it because I think I want to beat it, and I have this Ubisoft Plus subscription that I've basically been holding on to because of this game coming out. When I beat this game, I'll probably cancel that subscription. I was gonna keep it because the new Assassin's Creed game was supposed to come out next month, but it got delayed to February. I'm like, okay, if I beat this Star Wars Outlaws in October, I don't want to pay for November, December, and January of Ubisoft Plus without using it. So I will probably finally put a close to that account until Assassin's Creed comes out. But yeah, so that's Star Wars Outlaws. Just, man, talk about a game that demoed super well when it debuted, and I was really hyped for, and then it's just kind of come out like cold oatmeal. I don't know what else to say.
That's a fair and honest review, my friend. That's pretty good.
Yeah. I really wanted to like it, and even when I started seeing mixed reviews, I was like, I'm gonna like it though. I feel like it's gonna scratch the itch for me, and it kind of does, but I'm just not always having fun. when I'm playing it. I'm truly checking a box.
That's not what I want from my games.
Yeah.
All right.
If you have an Ubisoft Plus subscription and you can play it through that, that's fine. Would I pay $70 for this game? No, I can't. I can't recommend that.
That's how I feel about it. If it was free, I would try it out. But yeah, I'm not paying $70 for checking a box.
Yep.
Well, that finishes us up for fresh games. All we got left are the fresh picks of the week, where we pick what we thought was the freshest thing we saw, played, or watched this week. I'll go first. My fresh pick of the week is Solo Leveling on Crunchyroll. This is a brutal and interesting anime. I really like it a lot. I've been looking for a good anime to really grind on for a little while now, and this one is doing it for me. So if you like anime, Solo Leveling is worth a shot.
Awesome. Well, obviously I just went through so many different things, so it's really hard to pick one thing for a fresh pick of the week. But I think I was going to say Anora, because it's probably the best movie that I saw at Fantastic Fest, and I think it's going to be a big awards player, and I really enjoyed it. But I'm actually going to pivot. I'm going to say Will and Harper. Will and Harper is my fresh pick of the week. Yeah, I saw it at the festival. I came home and watched it again. And I feel like if there's any one movie I want to recommend to people right now, I'd say watch Will and Harper. It's on Netflix now. Check it out.
Excellent pick, my friend. Excellent pick. Well, hey, everybody. That was our show for today. Thank you so much for listening to Fresh Out the Podcast. I have been the board game guru, game master extraordinaire, Jahananan, and if you want to see me and Gary playing tabletop role-playing games and anything that you can really play on a table except for pool, come check out Fresh Out the Box. We're on YouTube, Twitch, all that kind of stuff. We play all kinds of games right now. We got a Vampire the Masquerade campaign going on, run by our friend Vampire Bites. We also got Fallout every other Friday, so come check us out. We got so many fresh new games to lay on your face.
And I am Drew Munhausen, the professional media and movie mastermind. Find me at Drew Munhausen on all the different social media platforms. Check me out over on Letterboxd. That's where I'm logging all the movies I'm watching all the time. And then, of course, you can find me here most weeks talking with Jahan on Fresh Out the Podcast. We should be back next week with episode 138. I'm hoping that I'm going to see Joker this weekend. That's my plan, is to see Joker. That comes out in theaters, wide release this weekend. Joker fully adieu. Are you interested in Joker, Jahan?
I was, and then I became less so.
It's getting kind of shredded.
It's getting shredded
in some of the early reviews. It's not what you want. Like, the first Joker had the opposite. It did the festivals, and people, I think, didn't know what to expect, and then it won the Golden Lion and started getting all this praise, and then of course Joaquin Phoenix wins an Oscar, and it's nominated for Best Picture, and all this stuff, and it should have been just left at that. And it makes sense why they wanted to make a sequel that's a music, that they made. It's a musical. They've done all kinds of weird choices, and then it's played the festivals and gotten negative buzz, and that's not what you want. Is for a month plus before your movie comes out to have just kind of this cloud hanging over it. Although I've seen some positivity, but mostly it seems like it's getting panned. But I want to see Joaquin Phoenix and Lady Gaga and see what they do in this strange movie. And I'll hopefully have some thoughts on it next week.
Absolutely. Between that and the Penguins, it's going to be a DC heavy episode. But hey, I'm here for it.
Indeed. So yeah, I think that's it for episode 137.
Stay fresh.